Today I am reviewing my second Jeremy Thomas commentary. I have a link to that review in the description below, his earlier commentary on Galatians. This review looks at 1 Corinthians, with Jeremy's subtitle, Worldliness in the Church. Like Galatians, this commentary is written with the average church member and the pastor preparing sermons in mind. This isn't a technical commentary. It's not going to get into the weeds of the Greek or into some of the philosophical considerations that you might find in other commentaries. Jeremy, in his commentary series, is doing the simple work to help provide the reader with a basic understanding of what Paul is writing. I didn't say this with the first one, but I do really like the design and the look of this series. I hope Jeremy stays consistent with this look of the books throughout. So if you are on the lookout for someone to walk with you as you study through the book of 1 Corinthians, Jeremy is a very good, we could call him a guide. He's a good guide to the book of 1 Corinthians, or you could also say he's a second set of eyes. He's there to help you pick up on some insights you may have missed. So if you have a few minutes, I would like to tell you a little bit more about 1 Corinthians, Worldliness in the Church by Jeremy Thomas. Welcome to Rev Reads. If you want to discover more reviews on Bible commentaries, please subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with my latest book review. Also, give this video a like, share it with other people. It is your likes, it is your shares that help others know about the work of Jeremy Thomas. In July of 2025, I will be teaching pastors in East Africa at the Grace Initiative for Burundi. Each year, Grace Life Ministries hosts a pastoral training for 100 to 120 pastors in Burundi. As one of the instructors, I will be walking pastors through the books of Hebrews and James to provide them with the tools they need to understand and teach these important books. If you would like to support this pastoral training in Africa, I would love for you to follow the link in the description below. Go to gracelife.org/give and help with the training of local pastors in Africa. Now, I hope Jeremy and whoever works with him on these commentaries takes the time to watch through this review. I say that because this volume is in some serious need of some formatting help. The footnotes in places are pretty terribly off. And sometimes it's impossible to know what the footnotes are referring to. It's almost like they got off by half a page at some point in the printing. I also noticed some more typos in this volume compared to his volume on Galatians. So for the benefit of future readers, this one needs a little bit of a look over and a cleanup with some of those typos and footnotes to be fixed. It's to the point where if I was Jeremy, I would pull this book off of listings and off of sale for a little bit, fix those issues, and then relist it online. Now, I hope he takes this advice because overall, I really like this commentary. I found his reasoning to be sound throughout. He's really good at writing and one who also keeps his writing very succinct. One struggle I often have in sermon prep is with commentaries being needlessly worried, which is really frustrating when studying commentaries because I'm normally reading 4 or 5 commentaries who are all going over the same biblical text. So it's nice to have someone who can state what they're saying quickly. His view on so many passages is dead on accurate in my perspective. His writing on baptism as it relates to the gospel, based on Paul's comment that he baptized so few in Corinth, was great. His writing on rewards, a very important topic, was spot on. Writing on the different views in church history for the Lord's Supper and then also for the New Covenant, they almost come like back to back in the book with like a page separating them. His overview of those two subjects really demonstrates Jeremy's skill at taking complex ideas, especially ideas where there's a lot of heat and a lot of debate over them, and presenting them in a manner that is clear and easy to understand and fair toward every side of the issue. I was very impressed at the way he handled both of those subjects, even when there are some details where we would disagree on the church's participation in the New Covenant. And in that same area of the commentary, one place I always look for in 1 Corinthians to gauge if a commentator is going to be taking this book of the Bible consistently in context or lifting passages out of context in their interpretation is based on how they handle 1 Corinthians 11 28 and 29. Those verses read, "But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of the bread and drink of the cup. For he who eats and drinks in an unworthy manner eats and drinks judgment to himself, not discerning the Lord's body." I want the commentator to recognize that in context, examining yourself here isn't about looking over your sins for the past week and seeing if in some way you're worthy based on how you've been living in order to partake of the Lord's Supper, but it's examining the manner in which you are partaking of the meal. Are you belittling the poor in church that are gathered together? Are you getting drunk during the meal? And Jeremy does a good job with these verses, keeping them in the context of 1 Corinthians 11. And overall, he consistently does a very good job of watching out for Paul's larger arguments and not ripping individual verses out of context to make unrelated points. The place I probably disagreed with him the most was under spiritual gifts. Now, in practice, Jeremy and I have the same view of spiritual gifts, but I speak about them different than most cessationists. Since I don't like to use the language of cessationism, which is all throughout his section on the gifts, I don't believe God closed off supernatural gifts at the close of the canon. I still think they're possible, but they only occur under the rules established by Paul in 1 Corinthians. And also, they must be genuine miracles. Tongues is the miraculous ability to speak a foreign language you don't know. And only two people, if you can speak tongues in a real way, are able to do it during a church service for the purpose of being orderly. If we followed these rules set up by Paul, all the nonsense in the church regarding tongues would be gone tomorrow. And we wouldn't even need to have a debate on if the gifts have ceased or not. When he came to the resurrection, his explanation of what it meant for someone to believe in vain was really good, as well as his explanation of what is a spiritual versus a physical body. And he was a little forceful in that section on the necessity of a physical resurrection in his writing, and I believe that that matched the way that Paul was writing in that section of the letter. I also liked what he wrote on logic. Our God is the God of logic. Our God is the most wise and logical person ever. And if our theology needs to be consistently punting toward mystery and the things that we just can't explain, that should be a warning that it probably isn't correct. Because we worship the God who designed the universe. We worship the God who gave us the law and the gospel. Our God is reasonable. So our theology should also be logical and reasonable as it comes from the biblical text. Overall, I really liked this commentary, which made it frustrating when it came to all the typos and the issues with formatting and the footnotes. Because I always prefer to have those issues be so minimal, I don't need to bother mentioning it in the review. But if Jeremy can get that cleaned up, this is going to be an excellent addition for someone who is studying or teaching through 1 Corinthians.